everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and we got
What?
Dr. Brandon.
Who is back in town?
Dr. Brandon Nielsen. Okay, so it's been a few months. We needed to get together, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about with you today
Yes.
is because you've always been tuned into energy. You've always been tuned into the way our bodies are energy, the way our souls and spirits and the food and the supplements and everything is energy. But there's a lot of shifts going on the planet right now, and they're changing. Things are changing for humanity. I think we're up leveling. I think there's a huge rise in consciousness, but I also think because of that, there's a lot of negative energies, and there's a lot of energies that are out there that can drag us down. So I wanted to just jump on this video with you today and talk about surviving the energies, thriving during the energies, and some of the steps that we can take to protect ourselves from the heaviness of these negative energies. So that's a lot, right? But it's a cool topic.
It is.
Yeah.
It's interesting because in St. Louis, they had a hotline. So, we can go there. They had a hotline for COVID. It was a tattletale hotline. All right. And
okay.
They had this in many cities.
Yeah.
You want me to go there?
For sure.
Okay,
yeah.
Here we go.
At this point, yeah.
So in St. Louis, what happened though is I don't know who it was, but somebody released all the tattletailers. So all the people that were telling to report these people if they were going outside of quarantine, if they were, if they're employers and they were still open, these type of things. What's really interesting is as they found the truth of who the tattletellers were, or whatever you want to call them, whistleblowers for the government, they found that it was people's neighbors.
Yeah.
And it was people's own employees. And because they could do it anonymously, they thought they were willing to call in their friends. It's interesting because back in Nazi Germany, husbands would call in on their wives, brothers would call in on their brothers. The same thing is happening today during the COVID lockdown. People are telling on each other, neighbors telling on each other.
You think that's eased back a little bit now?
It has now.
Yeah, but I mean, we really need to remember.
Willing. So yeah. It's not that far back, 1940, late 40s.
And 2020.
Or 2020. So, we're 7 years out. And what's interesting about that, though, is here's the thing. I'm not going to talk about COVID and all this stuff, but what I am going to say is this. There are people in your life, especially family, who are not going to agree with what you have to say. And although they're family, I'm going to say this, they're not really part of your tribe. They're, you have, negative. And it's okay. Negative, they're still your family, and they're still and it might be friends, but you have got to learn how to create appropriate boundaries. So still love them. They're still family. But what I've seen is that needs to be a lot more pruning going on. So pruning meaning you have to cut back, or else not eliminate, like take them out. You just don't be friends with them anymore. And you're still acquaintances, or you still know them, and you still are very kind and that type of thing. But I believe it's time now. We've reached a point in our society where you really have to decide who it is that you can trust. I mean, can you really trust your neighbors? Are they going to turn you in? And if not, maybe you need to make friends with them and get on the same page as those people.
Maybe you don't even know your neighbors.
And maybe you don't even know your neighbors.
Well, and I think the whole point is who you let into your energy field on a certain level, because I do think if it is family members especially, it's not about cutting them out, but it's about
where your family.
Right. And here's the thing is, it's like, this is where you be strategic about the conversations that you open.
Right.
Right. So you can have, it almost has to be at certain points, and I can put myself in this category as well. You have to have conversations that are surface and loving. They can still be loving and compassionate, but there's nothing deep, and there's nothing that's going to I've reached a point where I can't disrupt my energy field because of just the path that I have been on for most of my adult life. And when all of this started going down a couple of years ago, I'm so grateful that I was on this journey of growing and learning and personal development and understanding energy work, and even just as far as learning about muscle testing, because then you understand everything, like, okay, do I want to take this product? Well, I'm going to muscle test for it.
Right.
So that's all energy as well. So I think that the main message here is that it's okay to be strategic about how you handle your family members with love and boundaries. And then also it might serve you, even though it might be hard, to release people that have been in your friendship base that don't serve you anymore. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, because that is part of protecting yourself with the energies. And I'm telling you, and I talk about this all the time, there is a rise in consciousness. And I feel kind of bad for the people who can't feel it and see it. If they're still vibrating in fear, and they still believe everything that the mainstream media tells them, and they still watch way too much TV, and they suck into their social media to numb them out and just scroll mindlessly. Like, there's such a big, beautiful world out there, and the vibrating energies are so beautiful and amazing that that's what I hope for you.
Yeah, I love it. I think
Right.
I do.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, kind of what you're saying is, I am so cautious about who I spend my time with.
Oh, yeah.
I'm constantly monitoring, and if people want to hang out with us, I generally don't.
Well, it's because you read their energy.
So cautious of who I spend time with, and even people who I spent time with maybe years ago, I just don't spend time with them as much anymore, just because my time has become so valuable. So you got to spend your time wisely, spend time with Jane and other people. But I am so cautious about who I am willing to spend time with. So hopefully you guys can be that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you tune into the positive energies, and I know it can be hard sometimes, but this is why it's important to protect your energy field and realize, like, there's beautiful shifts coming. They're already here, and it's not about, oh, I'm going to huddle into my house and wait for it all to be over.
Right.
Don't do that.
I'll say this one. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think
I'll say this one last thing.
People need to be a part of the change. You need to be a part of taking humanity up to its next level.
Very true. So it's us. See, if we look at the United States of America massively in debt, it is an example of what we are doing on a small level. So it has to start with us.
Yeah.
We think, oh, the government should do this, or why are we so in debt? Because we personally are in debt. Everything that's greater is a reflection of the smaller cell. It's like me, I have, 30 trillion little Brandons, Dr. Nielsen's inside of me that make up the big Dr. Nielsen. But all of those must come in order to be able to have a sense of purpose that is united in that unit. So this is the big unit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all those little units must unite and come together.
Yeah. So individually, we make up the collective.
You got it.
Yeah. So it's not about worrying about what other people are doing. The best thing you can do is set an example, and then be steadfast. Don't be swayed by people who are maybe living like you don't want to live. And so, let's maybe take this off to the very end of this, maybe in a different direction. I think part of this has to do with taking personal responsibility and realizing there's so many things, like, what are your finances look like? How in debt are you? Like you just said about is this a government? Do they spend outrageously, and are they Are they good with our money? No, they're not. But we can be good with our money. We can, if there is ever a time you need to get out of debt, you need to pay attention to your finances, like, okay, that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother video. But whatever you can do to keep your spending and to get yourself in a financial good place, that is smart. Your relationships. We talked about that with people that you let into your energy field. Your health. I believe your health is your greatest asset right now. If you have your health, no amount of wealth can replace it. Because, I believe we're going into some times that might be a little tough while our medical system figures itself out. And this is our greatest asset. So pay attention to your health, your money, and your relationships. To me, that's the biggest message right now. So yeah, any last thoughts?
No, that's great. I love it.
Okay, well, thanks for tuning in, you guys, and we'll see you in the next one.